The Sumerian civilization, do you feel that they were set up by the fallen watchers themselves?
Definitely. I believe
Absolutely.
that they were the sages, and you can look at all the types of figurines that come out of that particular area. They're all serpentine. The copper figurines
Mm-hmm.
have serpent characteristics. Your Egyptians, which followed that, you can look at your pharaohs, the strange head shapes, the
Right.
elongated
Right.
craniums, and then the female-looking kind of pharaohs that I can't kind of think were both male and female, kind of a mix.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that and you study Egyptian art, you can see that they are not totally all men or totally
Right.
all women. It's
And then Gilgamesh
strange.
himself was supposed to be part divine.
That's right.
2/3 divine and 1/3
And
mortal.
he was searching for the quality of immortality,
Right.
and that's what he was
So he
looking
didn't
for.
want to die.
From that point on, he wanted to live in a material world, and I think that was the thing, was to live materialistically in this world so there would be no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And from the point of time of all that happening, it has been for secret societies since the Egyptian therapeutic to run all the way down through today, even with the Illuminatis,
Right.
Freemasonry, even its highest echelons, tell us that they're looking for the divine spark,
Right.
so that when you reach the point of genetically being able to stop the death gene, that once that death gene is stopped, you will not look to the Creator. You will look to the created, because you can live without judgment
Right. Forever.
forever.
Immortality.
Yes.
Do you think that that is why in Genesis the Sethite line is separated from the Cainite line?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's why I prove in my book that Jesus actually was from Mary, and Mary's lineage is the most important, because even Mary's lineage does not incorporate Solomon. It goes back through Nathan the prophet, and through that lineage back to David. Because Solomon, I believe, was so bad that even though Joseph's lineage, yes, was through the Solomon,
Mm-hmm.
that is why you have two lineages of Jesus in the Bible, in Matthew and Luke.
I really gotta look into that
Yes.
with your book. I'm
Yes.
really excited.
And I take you and I show you all these little lineages so that you can understand how important it was for Mary's lineage to be as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it uses Heli, which was Mary's father.
Excellent. Do you feel that we are at the end of days?
Yes.
And
And I have a timeline in my book that shows you how the end of time is going to really come to pass,
Mhm.
and that we are that generation, because we're already seeing the fulfillment of the last days prophecies that are recorded throughout the Bible in Daniel and Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and even into Jude and into Revelations.
Matthew 24, Mark 13,
Oh.
and Luke 21.
I mean, the Bible is all prophetic. I mean, the majority of
Absolutely.
it is nothing but prophetic. And once you understand the signs and the seasons, then you know, when you're a Christian, you've done this research, that we are very close to the end of time. And my
Right.
book does show you that timeline.
Absolutely. Well, the next question I have for you are, what are the major world events that you're looking for to take us to the next step in biblical prophecy?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I'm interested in was the fact that the Sanhedrin redeveloped after 1,600 years of not even being in existence last January.
Mm-hmm.
And their number one priority is to rebuild the temple in
temple.
Israel. And we know that for the abomination of desolation to take place, where the Antichrist takes a step into the temple there in Israel,
It
that
must be
temple
rebuilt.
has to be rebuilt.
Absolutely.
And there was a archaeologist that was hired to go in there, and they did find that the end of the temple would sit right next to the Dome of the Rock, because we always say, well, the Dome of the Rock's got to be destroyed. Oh, no, 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 no.
Right.
It does not have to be destroyed. It will fit perfectly side of that, as long as you leave off the court of the Gentiles. And once the time of the Gentiles are complete, there's no reason for a court of the Gentiles.
Right.
So yes, even though they have built what I call a duplicate out in the desert, they have all the utensils already built. They have all the priests trained. They already have the red heifer. They know how to make the clothes that the priests wear. Everything is set.
Mhm.
The model has been built. The only thing is to set it down right there next to the Dome of the Rock.
Do you think that the meeting that just happened in Annapolis with all the Middle Eastern countries coming to discuss the splitting of Jerusalem, that is in fact a step towards the rebuilding of that temple?
Oh, I think definitely. I think we're going to see the Middle East change substantially. The key people are getting into place. Tony Blair is one of those particular individuals that has been let go, supposedly let go from England.
Right.
But his prime thing will be to help unite
Right.
that
Through the
area over
United
there.
Nations.
Prince Charles. People do not understand how Prince Charles is so tied with that, but my book will show you how he is making all these things come to pass with Britain. Many people do not know that the United States is owned by Britain.
Right.
That that our monetary trust funds and stuff were all set up really to be controlled at a distance by Britain.
Right.
And
Even
so-
the bloodlines.
And the bloodlines, all the historical things that are there, I bring all that up into my book so that you can understand how important it is about this holy Merovingian bloodline.
Right.
Why the royal family has a lion and a unicorn on their crest, and what those symbols mean, and why they're so important in end-time prophecy. So yes, what is happening in Europe is very important. Although what is happening in America is important too, because we're going to be combined as an American Union.
Right.
We already see the influx of us pushing products from Mexico coming here and that kind of thing, and our borders being open with us and Canada and on down into South America. All that's going to join together, but we're going to see all these little countries start becoming big, huge conglomerates. So we get to those 10 nation confederates, and then we break
The
down.
world government.
That's right.
Absolutely.
We're headed very quickly in those directions.
Yes.
And
They already have the Amero printed
Exactly.
in the banks.
that's right.
Yes. What confirms your suspicions as far as us being in the end of days?
Well, the research that I have in my book shows you that the Antichrist is walking today on Earth, and there's a specific timeline that's set up for him to come to power. And knowing that the age that he is and what's got to happen for end times to happen and come together, that it's got to be close.
Do you think that once we get closer and closer, that things will accelerate?
Yes. And I'm already seeing that because I do the research. When I first started doing biblical research about 30 years ago, there was like bits and pieces that I might find in a year's time that might add up to possibility of the end of time. One of those being just the fact that we were not even using credit cards.
Right.
That's kind of been a thing in my lifetime that I've seen. I can remember going to my grandfather after reading Hal Lindsey's book, Late Great Planet Earth, and saying, Dow is what I called him. I said, we can have a credit card. And he's like, no, if I cannot pay my money, I don't buy it. And that generation has gone, and we've seen the credit card. Now we're going to the debit card, and we've done it so quickly for so long. It was cash money, then they had the checks, but that was still a long period of time, and then we went from the credit card. Now we're into the debit card, so it's immediate transfers, and we're getting away from checks and getting away from actually handling money. And now that the Verichip has become very successful out of
Digital
Florida,
engine.
that's right, where they can put the chip into your hand or whatever, and you can slide it across a barcode, and it will bring up every medical condition as well as all your bank activities and things like that.
Do you feel that's the mark of the beast?
I don't think that the chip is the mark of the beast, but I do think that it will lead to the mark of the beast.
Because it's
what
supposed to be spiritual, the mark of the beast.
What will happen is that once you have, as far as the chip is concerned, and I do have a concern about the chip in that I have done some research where that chip can be lodged, especially into the area of the brain where I call the pineal gland that it exists. And I do believe that the pineal gland, from my research, has something to do with transmissions. It's much like a corpse. And all your Egyptian pharaohs always wore the snake that was here on the forehead. When this little gland is stimulated vibratory by saying or doing anything like in the sarcophagus of the ancient Egyptian pyramids, it will vibrate the body, and when it does, this gland will shoot out, and it looks just like a serpent flickering its tongue, which is the same thing if you look on the foreheads of the pharaohs is going on. So I do think that that is an area that must be sealed for the 144,000 at the end of time.